There is a place in Quantico, Virginia, where civilians go in and officers come out. Or they do not come out at all. 10 weeks. That is all the time the United States Marine Corps gives a candidate to prove they have what it takes to lead Marines in combat. 10 weeks to either earn the title or walk away without it. And the failure rate is not small. Every single class that checks in to officer candidate school loses candidates. Some drop on the first day. Some make it 8 weeks before the pressure finally breaks them. And the ones who survive, the ones who graduate and raise their right hand and receive that gold bar, they will tell you that those 10 weeks changed them in ways that no other experience in their lives ever did or ever could. Officer Candidate School is not boot camp. It is not a leadership seminar. It is not a college course on management. It is a sustained, deliberate, relentless test of character. The Marine Corps does not care how fast you can run when everything is going well. It wants to know what you do when everything is falling apart, when you have not slept, when your body is exhausted, when the mission is unclear, and the clock is running, and people are watching you and waiting for you to decide. That is what OCS is designed to find out. Before we go any further, take a second and subscribe. Over 98% of people watching this will leave without subscribing, and it costs you absolutely nothing. Hit that button now so you never miss a story like this one. Today we are going deep inside Marine Corps Officer Candidate School. We are going to walk through what candidates experience from the moment they step off that bus to the moment they receive their commission. We are going to talk about the screaming and the sleep deprivation and the physical tests, but we are also going to talk about the deeper thing underneath all of it, the thing the Marine Corps is actually looking for, because the physical pain is not the point. It never was. If you have respect for the men and women who chose to serve this country as officers in the United States Marine Corps, type earned in the comments right now. Let us start at the very beginning. Before a single candidate ever sets foot on the yellow footprints at Quantico, they have already been selected. And that selection process is itself a filter. Officer candidates for the Marine Corps come from two main pipelines. The first is Platoon Leaders Class, commonly called PLC, which is designed for college students who attend OCS during the summers of their college years, splitting the training into 2 6-week increments. The second is Officer Candidates Course, which is the 10-week program attended by college graduates and commissioned directly upon completion. Both pipelines lead to the same destination, a commission as a second lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps. But before any of that happens, a candidate has to get through their officer selection officer. The OSO is a Marine officer, usually a captain or major, assigned to a geographic region, whose job is to recruit, screen, and prepare future candidates. The OSO is not your friend in the warm and comfortable sense of the word. The OSO is the first person who will look at you and decide honestly whether you have a realistic shot at making it through OCS. They will review your physical fitness test scores. They will review your academic record. They will interview you. They will challenge you. And if they do not believe you are ready, they will tell you so before you waste your time and theirs. To even apply, candidates must meet minimum physical fitness standards that already exceed what most Americans could achieve on their best day. The physical fitness test, the PFT, for male candidates requires a minimum score on pull-ups, crunches, and a 3-mile run. For female candidates, the standards have been updated in recent years to reflect the same demanding expectations. And here is what matters. Those minimum scores are not good enough to make it through OCS. Candidates who arrive with minimum scores are already behind. The Marines who thrive at OCS are typically arriving with near-perfect PFT scores, because OCS is going to demand far more than the minimum every single day. Once a candidate is accepted, they receive a pack date, a reporting date, and a packing list. The packing list is specific and unforgiving. You bring exactly what they tell you to bring, nothing more, nothing less. What you wear, what you carry, what you eat, when you sleep, none of it will be your choice for the next 10 weeks. You are surrendering your autonomy the moment you step off that bus, and that is entirely the point. The bus ride to Quantico is quiet for most candidates. Some are praying. Some are reviewing notes they made about the Uniform Code of Military Justice, or the leadership traits, or the rank structure. Some are just staring out the window, wondering if they are ready. The truth is, none of them know yet, and that uncertainty is the first lesson OCS teaches. You will not know if you are ready until the moment arrives and you are required to act. Receiving day at OCS is called candidate receiving, and it is exactly as jarring as every veteran will tell you it is. The bus stops, the door opens, and the Marine Corps enters your life with absolute authority and zero patience. The sergeant instructors, the SIs, are there. They are not drill instructors in the Marine Corps enlisted sense, though the roles share similarities. They are experienced staff non-commissioned officers, SNCOs, typically staff sergeants through gunnery sergeants, who have been specifically selected and trained to run officer candidate school candidates through the evaluation process. These are not random NCOs pulled from a duty station. These are some of the most competent and demanding leaders in the entire Marine Corps, and their job is to create pressure, sustained, unrelenting, deliberately overwhelming pressure, and then watch what the candidates do inside of it. From the moment candidates get off the bus, the screaming starts. And this is important to understand. The screaming is not emotional. It is not personal rage. It is a tool. The sergeant instructors use noise, speed, and controlled chaos to immediately overwhelm the candidate's sensory input, to strip away confidence, and to force a rapid shift from the civilian mindset into something else entirely. The Marine Corps is watching from the very first second to see who freezes, who panics, who tries to hide, and who somehow manages to push through the initial shock and start executing. Candidates are processed rapidly through administrative stations. They hand over personal items. They receive their initial issue of equipment and uniforms. They are assigned to platoons, and from that moment forward, they are no longer individuals in the way they were before. They are candidates, members of a platoon, accountable to the platoon, evaluated as part of the platoon, and the performance of the platoon reflects on every single member of it. That collective accountability is not accidental. The Marine Corps is not primarily training individual warriors, though individual toughness absolutely matters. It is training officers. And an officer's job is not to be personally impressive. An officer's job is to lead a unit to accomplish a mission. If a candidate is physically exceptional, but cannot bring the people around them to a higher level of performance, that candidate is not the officer the Marine Corps is looking for. If a candidate is academically sharp, but falls apart under physical stress, that candidate is not the officer the Marine Corps is looking for. OCS is designed to find candidates who have some functional combination of physical capability, mental resilience, character, and the ability to influence others even when they themselves are suffering. The first days of OCS are sometimes called the indoctrination period, or simply INDOC. This phase is a deliberate assault on everything a candidate thinks they know about themselves. The sleep is minimal. The physical events are constant. The instruction on basic military tasks is crammed into every available moment. Candidates learn how to make a rack, how to store their gear, how to wear their uniforms, how to address officers and SIs, how to fall in, how to move as a unit, how to eat in the chow hall in a time-constrained environment, how to navigate the physical environment of the base. And they are learning all of this simultaneously, under time pressure, while exhausted, while being evaluated, while knowing that a mistake by any one of them can result in collective punishment for the entire platoon. The racks themselves are a topic worth addressing. Candidates sleep in squad bays, open barracks rooms, where the entire platoon sleeps together. There is no privacy. There is no personal space in any meaningful sense. The racks are metal-framed bunks, and making those racks to Marine Corps standards is a skill that must be mastered quickly, because the sergeant instructors will inspect them, and an improperly made rack during an inspection is not just a personal failure. It is a signal about your attention to detail, your discipline, your ability to follow instructions precisely under pressure. All of those things matter enormously in an infantry officer leading Marines downrange. The physical training at OCS begins immediately, and it does not stop. But again, the physical training is not the point. The Marine Corps could have designed a purely physical selection program if that was all they cared about. What they designed instead is a physical program that creates a context for leadership evaluation. When candidates are running in formation at 0500 in the dark, and someone falls behind, who notices? Who adjusts? When a candidate at the front of a formation sets a pace that is too fast for the people at the back, are they being a leader, or are they performing for the evaluators at the expense of the platoon? These are the questions the sergeant instructors and the officer instructors are asking constantly as they watch the candidates move and react and decide. The runs at OCS are not casual. Candidates regularly run distances between 3 and 5 miles, and they do so in formation, which means the group moves at a pace that maintains unit cohesion. The faster candidates have to discipline themselves to stay with the formation. The slower candidates have to push themselves to stay in it. And everyone is carrying the weight of knowing that their performance, their ability to keep going when their lungs are burning and their legs are failing them, is being observed and noted. Beyond running, the physical training includes obstacle courses, which at OCS serve multiple purposes simultaneously. They build physical strength and coordination. They require problem-solving under physical stress. They demand that candidates move through physically uncomfortable and sometimes genuinely frightening challenges, and they do so as part of a team. An obstacle course at OCS is not a solo event. It is a unit event, and the unit performance reflects on the individual candidates within it and on the candidates who are designated as leaders for that event. The combat endurance course, the obstacle course, and the various field events at OCS are the physical crucibles that the Marine Corps uses to see how candidates behave when their body is at its limit and a decision still has to be made. That is the officer's reality in combat. You will never get to make a decision when you are comfortable and rested and fully informed. You will almost always be making decisions under some form of physical stress, time pressure, incomplete information, and human stakes that do not allow for mistakes. OCS is not simulating combat, but it is simulating the mental and physical conditions in which an officer must lead, and it is asking a very direct question of every candidate who goes through it. Can you lead when leading is hard? Let us talk about the academic component, because it is substantial, and it is not something that gets enough attention in most discussions of OCS. Officer Candidate School includes a significant curriculum of academic instruction. Candidates are taught the leadership traits and principles of the Marine Corps. There are 14 leadership traits that Marine officers are expected to embody, and every candidate must know them cold: justice, judgment, decisiveness, integrity, dependability, tact, initiative, enthusiasm, bearing, unselfishness, courage, knowledge, loyalty, and endurance. Those are not just words to memorize. They are a framework that the Marine Corps uses to evaluate whether a candidate demonstrates officer quality character, and each one of those traits will be tested, not in a classroom setting where a candidate can write an essay about integrity, but in the field, in the squad bay, in the moments when no one is obviously watching, in the moments when telling the truth costs something. Candidates are also taught the 11 leadership principles, military history, with a particular emphasis on Marine Corps history and the battles that shaped the institution, land navigation using map and compass, weapons familiarization and safety, military law and the Uniform Code of Military Justice, first aid and combat casualty care, and a wide range of tactical and operational concepts that will form the foundation of their education when they advance to the basic school after commissioning. The academic tests at OCS are not optional hurdles that candidates can blow off in favor of focusing on the physical events. Failing academic requirements can result in a candidate being dropped from the program just as surely as a physical failure can. The Marine Corps expects its officers to be both physically capable and intellectually sharp because the battlefield demands both. An officer who can run forever but cannot read a map or cannot make a tactically sound decision is a danger to the Marines they lead. The academic curriculum at OCS is the beginning of the intellectual preparation for the work of leading in combat. One of the most significant and unique elements of OCS that distinguishes it from enlisted training is the leadership evaluation system. Every candidate at OCS will be placed in formal leadership positions during the course of the program. These positions include candidate platoon commander, candidate platoon sergeant, candidate squad leader, and various other leadership billets that require a candidate to stand in front of their peers and lead an activity, a movement, a training event, or a tactical problem. And while they are doing it, they are being watched and scored by the sergeant instructors and officer instructors. These candidate leadership evaluations, the CLEs, are the heart of the OCS experience. They are what separates OCS from any other military training program, because what is being evaluated is not just whether the task gets accomplished, it is how the candidate leads. Do they communicate clearly and confidently? Do they establish a plan and adjust when the plan hits reality? Do they keep their people informed? Do they make decisions without freezing? Do they maintain composure when things go wrong? Which they always do, because the evaluators design the events to include friction and unexpected problems. Do they care for the people under them, checking on the candidate who is struggling, ensuring no one is left behind? These are the things the Marine Corps wants to see, and these are the things that many candidates struggle with more than the physical tests. Running a 10-mile march with a heavy pack is painful, but it is simple. You put one foot in front of the other, and you do not stop. Leading a group of equally exhausted, equally stressed candidates through a tactical problem while being evaluated and knowing that your grade in this moment will directly influence whether you receive a commission, that is a different kind of challenge entirely. That is the challenge the Marine Corps most cares about. The leadership evaluations are structured to be ambiguous in certain ways. The scenario is given, the objective is stated, but the details are often incomplete. Resources are often insufficient. The timeline is always tight. This is deliberate, because in real military operations, an officer almost never has complete information, always has resource constraints, and is almost always working against a timeline. The CLEs teach candidates to operate in that environment, to make the best decision available with the information they have, to communicate that decision to their people, and to lead the execution of it without waiting for permission or perfection. Candidates who perform poorly on CLEs receive feedback. The feedback is direct, and it is honest. The Marine Corps does not soften evaluations at OCS. If a candidate froze during a leadership evaluation, they will be told they froze. If a candidate failed to communicate their plan to their people, they will be told that, and they will be told why it matters. If a candidate made a decision that put their people in a tactically unsound position, they will be told so, and they will be asked to explain their thinking. This feedback process is itself a training tool. The Marine Corps is not just trying to catch candidates failing. It is trying to teach them what good leadership looks like by showing them clearly and specifically where they fell short of it. The culminating field operation at OCS is called the Warrior Training Exercise, or simply the Field Week. This is a multi-day operation conducted in the woods of the Quantico training area, where candidates execute a sustained tactical exercise while living in the field under all weather conditions. The Field Week is the moment when everything that candidates have been learning and training comes together simultaneously. Academic knowledge, physical fitness, land navigation skills, tactical concepts, leadership, and pure mental toughness. During the field exercise, candidates plan and execute tactical movements. They establish defensive positions. They conduct offensive operations against simulated enemy forces. They navigate terrain in limited visibility. They conduct patrols. They maintain security through the night. And they do all of this while managing the cumulative sleep deficit that OCS has been building in them since the first day. Sleep deprivation is not a side effect of OCS. It is a deliberate component of the evaluation. The Marine Corps knows that officers in combat frequently operate under severe sleep restriction. Decisions made at hour 30 of continuous operations, decisions made after 2 hours of sleep over 3 days, those decisions have to be as sound as decisions made when fully rested. OCS does not fully replicate combat levels of sleep deprivation because this is still a training environment with safety considerations, but it does reduce sleep significantly and systematically, and it observes very carefully how candidates behave and lead as fatigue accumulates. The candidates who struggle most with sleep deprivation at OCS are often not the ones who are physically weakest. They are the ones who cannot maintain their decision-making quality, their communication, their attention to detail, and their composure as exhaustion builds. That failure under fatigue is one of the most valuable and honest data points the Marine Corps collects during OCS, because it is very easy to be a good leader when you are fresh and clear-headed and the stakes feel manageable. The question the Marine Corps is asking is whether you can still lead when you are broken down and the stakes are real. The sergeant instructors at OCS deserve significant attention because they are the mechanism through which all of this evaluation and development occurs. These are not just physically impressive Marines who enjoy yelling at candidates, though make no mistake, they are physically impressive and they will not hesitate to get loud. These are carefully selected and trained NCOs who carry an enormous amount of institutional knowledge and responsibility. A sergeant instructor at OCS is typically assigned to a candidate platoon and lives and operates with that platoon through the entire evaluation cycle. They see the candidates in the morning when the squad bay lights first come on. They see them during physical training. They see them during academic instruction. They see them in the field at 2 in the morning when no one thinks anyone is watching. They are always watching. That is the job. The SI evaluates candidates on a continuous basis, not just during formal events. The Marine Corps understands that character is revealed in the unscripted moments. When a candidate thinks no one is looking, when a candidate thinks the evaluation has paused, that is often when the most revealing behavior occurs. Does the candidate help a struggling peer, or do they focus only on their own performance? Does the candidate take credit for something they did not do? Does the candidate tell the truth when the truth is inconvenient? The sergeant instructor sees it, and it goes in the notebook. There is a term at OCS that candidates hear often. It is the word, as in, what have you demonstrated? It is a critical word because it reflects the fundamental philosophy of OCS evaluation. The Marine Corps does not care what you say about yourself. It does not care about your college GPA in isolation. It does not care about your high school athletic record. It does not care about your family background, or your intentions, or your self-assessment. It cares about what you have demonstrated, what you have shown, under pressure, under observation, in circumstances that are hard. That is the data the Marine Corps is collecting, and that is the data that determines whether you are commissioned. There is also a board process built into OCS. If a candidate is struggling, either physically, academically, or in leadership evaluations, they may be brought before a performance review board. This board consists of the officer instructors and the sergeant instructors associated with the candidate's platoon. The board reviews the candidate's performance data. The candidate is given the opportunity to speak on their own behalf, and the board makes a recommendation. That recommendation might be to continue the candidate in training. It might be to give the candidate additional time to improve, or it might be to drop the candidate from the course. Being dropped from OCS is not a disqualification for life in every case. Some candidates who are dropped for performance reasons, not honor code violations, are allowed to return for a future class. The Marine Corps recognizes that some people are not ready at a particular moment, but may become ready with more time, more physical preparation, more maturity. But that opportunity is not guaranteed, and not everyone who is dropped is invited back. There is also a different category of drop that is permanent and immediate. If a candidate is found to have violated the honor code, they are gone. The Marine Corps honor code at OCS is not complicated. It is straightforward. You will not lie. You will not cheat. You will not steal. You will not tolerate those who do. That last part is the one that surprises some candidates. Tolerating a violation is itself a violation. If you see a candidate cheat on an academic test and you say nothing, you have violated the honor code. If a candidate is found to have lied to a sergeant instructor about their performance during an evaluation, they are gone. If a candidate is found to have cheated on any graded event, they are gone. The Marine Corps is not training people to bend the rules when circumstances are difficult. It is training people who will have authority over other human beings in life and death situations where integrity is not optional. Let us also talk about the physical attrition that OCS produces, because it is significant and it tells you something important about the standard. Injuries happen at OCS. They happen despite the best efforts of the cadre and the medical staff to manage the training load appropriately. Stress fractures are not uncommon. Soft tissue injuries occur. The physical demands are real, and they accumulate over 10 weeks on bodies that are already being pushed hard. When a candidate is injured, they face a difficult situation Depending on the nature and severity of the injury, they may be medically evaluated and given a decision point. Can they continue in training? If they can, they continue. If they cannot, they may be placed in a medical hold status, which means they wait at Quantico to either recover sufficiently to pick up with a future class or to be separated from the program. The mental component of injury at OCS is often more difficult than the physical one. A candidate who gets injured 6 weeks into a 10-week course and has to start over, or who has to sit and watch their original platoon graduate without them, that is a real test of character. Some candidates in that situation choose to quit. Some choose to come back and go through it again. The ones who come back, who absorb that setback, and return and do the entire thing again, often become some of the best officers in the program because they have demonstrated something that you cannot manufacture. They have demonstrated that they want this more than they want comfort, that they are willing to pay a price twice for something that matters to them. Now let us talk about the moment that every candidate is working toward and the weight of what it actually means. Commissioning day at OCS is not a loud event. It is not a dramatic ceremony in the way that graduation from civilian school might be. It is something quieter and more serious than that, which somehow makes it more powerful. The candidates who have made it through 10 weeks of OCS, who have been evaluated in every dimension the Marine Corps can evaluate a human being in 10 weeks, who have demonstrated the physical capacity, the mental resilience, the academic competence, and the character to be trusted with the lives of enlisted Marines. Those candidates assemble, and they are commissioned. They raise their right hands, and they take an oath. The oath of office for a United States military officer is not a casual statement. It is a legal commitment. It is a declaration that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that you take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which you are about to enter. So help you God. And then, for the first time, someone calls them lieutenant. That first salute is a tradition in the United States military. The first person to render a hand salute to a newly commissioned officer traditionally receives a coin or a dollar bill from the officer. Many newly commissioned Marine second lieutenants give that first salute to the sergeant instructor who rode them the hardest for 10 weeks. The person who screamed at them at 0500 on a cold morning in Quantico. The person who graded them when they froze during a leadership evaluation. The person who pushed them past the limit they thought they had. That is who they give the first salute to, because that person, more than anyone else, knows what they went through to earn that gold bar. There is something that former OCS graduates consistently describe about the day they received their commission. They describe a feeling that is difficult to put into words. They knew they had been tested by one of the most demanding evaluation systems in the world. They knew the Marine Corps had looked at them from every angle. They knew that the people who evaluated them had no reason to pass anyone who did not merit passing, because the stakes of commissioning an unqualified officer are real and serious. And so when they received that commission, they knew it was real. They knew it was earned. Nobody handed it to them. Nobody gave them the benefit of the doubt. They demonstrated it. Every single day of those 10 weeks, under conditions designed to make them fail, they demonstrated it. But it is important to understand that commissioning is not the end of the preparation. It is the beginning. After OCS, every newly commissioned Marine officer, regardless of their intended military occupational specialty, goes to the basic school at Quantico. The basic school is a 26-week course that is itself one of the most demanding officer training programs in the world. At the basic school, all Marine officers are trained to the standard of an infantry officer. Every Marine officer, whether they will eventually become a pilot, a lawyer, a logistician, or a communications officer, is first trained as a basic infantry officer. This is a fundamental philosophical commitment of the Marine Corps. Every Marine officer must be capable of leading infantry Marines in combat if the situation demands it. The Marine Corps has never believed that a support officer exists in a vacuum, safe from the realities of combat. It believes that every officer may face a moment where they must lead people in a fight, and it prepares all of its officers for that moment at the basic school. The basic school includes extensive tactical training, both classroom instruction and field operations. It includes physical training that is sustained and demanding. It includes weapons qualification. It includes officer leadership evaluations that build on the foundation established at OCS. And it includes the assignment of military occupational specialties, the process by which each officer receives their specific role in the Marine Corps. MOS selection at the basic school is itself a significant event. Candidates rank their preferences. The Marine Corps assigns MOSs based on the needs of the service and on the candidate's performance at the basic school. The highest performers generally have the most latitude in their MOS selection. The candidates who want the most competitive MOSs, such as infantry, reconnaissance, or aviation, must demonstrate the performance that earns access to those tracks. Once again, the Marine Corps connects everything back to demonstrated performance. For those who choose or are selected for aviation, the path continues after to basic school, to a naval aviation training pipeline that adds additional years of preparation before they ever fly an aircraft in a combat role. For those who go infantry, they go to the Infantry Officer Course, a grueling follow-on school that specifically prepares them to lead rifle platoons. The preparation for Marine officership is not a single event. It is a sustained process of building and evaluating competence and character over time. But all of it starts at OCS. Those 10 weeks in Quantico are the foundation everything else is built on. The Marine Corps makes a deliberate choice to make the entry point hard, very hard, because the institution understands something that civilian life often does not make obvious. The quality of an organization is determined by the standards at the gate. If you let anyone in, you get anyone. If you demand demonstrated excellence under sustained pressure before anyone receives a commission, you build an officer corps that reflects that standard. Let us also talk about who actually goes to OCS, because the people who show up at Quantico are not a monolith. Marine officer candidates come from every kind of background. Some are sons and daughters of Marines, people who grew up with the institution in their household and knew from an early age that this was their path. Some are first-generation Americans for whom military service is a profound expression of gratitude and belonging. Some come from ROT programs at civilian universities, where they have been preparing for years under the guidance of Marine officers assigned to those programs. Some come from the Naval Academy at Annapolis, which has its own officer candidate preparation integrated into the 4-year education there. Some come from careers in other fields, who decided at 25 or 28 or older that they wanted to lead Marines, and made the decision to walk into a Marine officer selection office and start the process. The diversity of background is real, and it matters, but at OCS, background disappears entirely. The candidate from the Naval Academy stands in formation next to the candidate from a state school in the Midwest. The candidate who played Division I football stands in formation next to the candidate who was a philosophy major. Nobody's past gives them an advantage at OCS, because OCS is not evaluating the past. It is evaluating what is in front of it right now, in this moment, under this pressure, with this decision to make. This is one of the most honest and clarifying things about OCS from the perspective of the people who go through it. No amount of reputation can protect you. No amount of prior success carries weight. When a sergeant instructor is watching you lead a patrol at midnight in the rain through the Virginia woods, your letters of recommendation are irrelevant. Your test scores are irrelevant. The only thing that matters is what you do right now. And that honesty, brutal as it is one of the things that former OCS graduates most frequently describe as transformative. There is also a powerful social dynamic that develops within OCS platoons, people who are going through something genuinely hard together, who are suffering together, who are dependent on each other for collective performance. Those people form bonds that are difficult to replicate in any other context. The candidate who carried a peer's pack for the last mile of an endurance hike when that peer was at their physical limit. The candidate who stayed up late helping a peer understand a land navigation concept they were struggling with, even though they needed sleep themselves. These moments happen at OCS, and they are remembered. They are part of what the Marine Corps is building. Not just individual officers, but people who understand through experience that leadership is fundamentally about service to others. The Marine Corps uses a particular phrase to capture the fundamental identity of everyone in the institution, officer and enlisted alike. The phrase is, every Marine a rifleman. What it means is that regardless of rank, regardless of specialty, regardless of assignment, every single Marine maintains the basic warrior skills that allow them to function in a fight. This is not a symbolic statement. It is a real operational philosophy. And at OCS, it is the first thing that is built into every candidate. Before you can be a specialist in anything, before you can be a pilot, or an intelligence officer, or a judge advocate, you have to be a Marine. And being a Marine means that you can handle a weapon, you can navigate terrain, you can execute basic tactical tasks, you can lead people under fire, and you can absorb hardship without breaking. OCS is where the Marine Corps determines whether you can do those things. If you can, you move forward. If you cannot, you do not. The question of voluntary drops is one that deserves honest attention. At any point during OCS, a candidate can voluntarily withdraw. They can walk up to a sergeant instructor and say they want to quit, and the Marine Corps will process them out of the program. There is no compulsion to continue. This is by design. The Marine Corps does not want officers who are there because they felt they had no choice. It wants officers who choose to be there every single day, who wake up and make the active decision to keep going despite everything the program is throwing at them. Voluntary withdrawal is considered a resignation of sorts. The candidate is saying, through their actions, that when the going gets hard enough, they will choose comfort over commitment. And while that choice is honored without punishment, it also answers the question the Marine Corps was asking. Every candidate who goes through OCS will have a moment when quitting is the loudest thought in their head. Every single one. The question is not whether that moment comes. The question is what you do when it does. The candidates who make it through OCS are not the ones who never wanted to quit. They are the ones who wanted to quit and did not. That distinction is everything. It is the entire lesson of OCS, compressed into a single human experience. Courage is not the absence of the desire to flee. Courage is the decision to remain when everything in you wants to go. The Marine Corps has been producing officers through this system for over a century, refining and adjusting the methods, but never abandoning the core philosophy. The core philosophy is that an officer's character is what matters most. Skills can be taught, tactics can be learned, equipment can be mastered, but the thing at the center of a person, the thing that determines what they do when everything is on the line, that is not built in a classroom, that is either there or it is not. And OCS is the instrument the Marine Corps uses to find out. What the candidates who succeed at OCS will tell you, years later, decades later, is that the difficulty was not the point. The difficulty was the context. The point was what they discovered about themselves inside of that difficulty. Many of them will tell you that they did not fully know who they were before OCS. They thought they did. They had a self-image, a narrative about their own capability and character. And then OCS systematically tested every part of that narrative, and in the testing, it revealed which parts were real and which parts were stories they had been telling themselves. That is the gift inside the difficulty. That is what the Marine Corps is actually giving people who go through OCS, whether they commission or not. It is giving them an honest answer to the question of what they are made of. And that answer, painful or proud, is something they carry for the rest of their lives. The ones who commission carry it with them into the basic school and then into the Fleet Marine Force, where real Marines, enlisted Marines, will look at them with that measuring gaze that every new officer recognizes immediately. Those enlisted Marines will be asking their own version of the same question the Marine Corps asked at OCS. Can this person lead? Can they be trusted? Are they worth following? And the answer the new lieutenant gives to that question will not come from their gold bar. It will come from exactly what OCS taught them. It will come from demonstrated behavior under pressure, from the decision to do the hard thing when the easy thing is available, from the integrity to be honest when honesty costs something, from the consistency to show up the same way when no one is watching as when everyone is. The gold bar is the beginning. What it represents is the proof that someone stood in front of one of the most demanding evaluation systems in the world and did not break when that system tried to break them. There are people in this country who wear that gold bar, and the ranks that follow it, who lead Marines in the most demanding and dangerous environments on Earth, who carry the weight of other people's lives in their decisions every day. And all of them, every single one, started in the same place, standing in the dark at Quantico, exhausted and uncertain, making the decision to take one more step. That is what Marine officer candidates go through at Officer Candidate School. And now you know. If this story gave you a new level of respect for the men and women who earn that commission, hit the like button right now and subscribe so you never miss a story like this one. These are the people standing the watch so that the rest of us do not have to.